Hi, my name is Natalie Roberts. I am an outreach officer at Aberystwyth University, and today I'm here to do a little talk about artificial intelligence. Now, I do have a couple of objectives to today's talk. The main being that we are going to work together to try and determine what your viewpoint is on artificial intelligence. We're also going to be considering the arguments for and against the existence of artificial intelligence in today's technology or in future technologies. And the main thing that we really want to focus on is just to inspire you to actually converse and debate this subject with other people, either in your family or in your friendship groups or in your class groups. So I'm going to give you a few bits of information about artificial intelligence. The main thing being the starting point of what is intelligence? Because surely if we can actually frame what intelligence is, we can then determine whether we can create it artificially. We can start to look at the history and the definitions of intelligence. And if we go back to the ancient Greeks, the great philosopher Socrates made that famous phrase that I know I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. So that is basically saying that something with intelligence is capable of recognizing its limitations. When Albert Einstein was asked what it meant to be intelligent, his reply was that the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. His argument was that without our imaginations, we wouldn't have come up with some of the fantastic inventions and advancements that we have in our time. So if this is the definition that you want to take for what intelligence truly is it possible for a computer to demonstrate imagination? Well, to start with, we go back to ourselves. How do we demonstrate our imaginations? Now, of course, I could link this back to what Albert Einstein was referring to in the fact that it's our dreams and our imaginations that lead to brand new designs and inventions. But we also display them on a more everyday level in the arts, our music, the artwork, the paintings, literature, poetry. They are all a result of imagination, or so you could argue. This means that if a computer could do these, does that mean it also has imagination? Well, let's have a look. These two pieces of artwork that you currently see on the screen are both produced by computer software. The one on the left, looking remarkably like an old-style oil portrait painting, was created by a computer program. How it was done was the computer program had thousands of images scanned into it from other oil paintings of the correct time frame and style. And then once it had this huge collection to reference, it was then set the task of combining all the techniques and approaches to produce its own portrait. There wasn't actually a model for this. There was no actual person modeling for this portrait. It has taken the information it was given and been able to produce it. Not only that, but this became the very first piece of software-produced artwork to be sold at auction. And it went for $432,000. Now, the image on the right is slightly different. It's a very different form of art. This is the digital art form. Now, humans can use computer programs to produce such pieces like these, the colorful, abstract, or surreal images. This one, however, was purely produced by a computer program. It came about after there was an error in an architectural program that produced a really impressive artistic array of images. And so people looked at this and decided to actually, well, develop it into an art form. So this is why, if you look closely in that picture, you can see a lot of arches and steeples. Some people can see trees in there. I personally think that they are more of the steeples, just the points of them. But the reason for their existence is because of its architectural basis. So this was discovered as an accident, but then developed into a whole art form of its own. But what about other forms of art? I mean, this is just producing images. So what about poetry? This poem here, the sun is a beautiful thing. In silence is drawn between the trees, only the beginning of light. Sounds pretty impressive. I don't think I could write poetry that good. However, this poem was written by a computer program. It was given the rules of the style of poetry, and it was given access to a whole database of vocabulary that it could use for the poem. And as guidance, some of these programs are also given sort of a subject keyword. So wait a moment, these computer programs are doing things that we classify as representations of imagination. They can also help with music compositions. We have programs that can write whole articles given a title, and they can put in a whole argument or debate into an article or essay for you. So is this actually demonstrating imagination? Or are we just seeing the creator's imagination in the programming? But again, this has an even deeper question associated with it. What is the difference between programming a computer to learn from the masters of the past, to learn from previous artists in whichever field, and then applying it to produce their own? What's the difference between that sort of programming and the instruction that a human master in the arts would have? They too would study the subject. They too would have the role models for which they studied under. So this is where it starts to get really complex. Where can we see that division between programming and instruction? I'm going to now take us back to that initial question of what does it mean to have intelligence? And I'm now going to refer to the current Oxford English Dictionary definition of intelligence, which is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. This is very much based for artificial intelligence on the work of Alan Turing. Now, Alan Turing is considered to be the father of computing, and he came up with a couple of different things regarding intelligence within computer systems. The first of all is he's responsible for the Turing test, hence its name, with the whole idea that the computer intelligence would be able to convince a human that it too was human. Now, we have already had some chatbots developed that work online in chat forums and in various other settings that have already achieved this. They have managed to convince other humans within the forum that they too are human. So does that mean that they are intelligent? Well, Turing went that bit further and then said that a true sign of intelligence basically is the ability to learn. That if we wanted to create a true artificial intelligence, it would have to learn to be intelligent. At Aberystwyth University, we have a humanoid robot called iCub. Now, the iCub is based on a human toddler in both build and programming. And the aim is for our researchers at the university to have it self-learn hand-eye coordination. So figure it out on its own. Learn where its hand is in relation to the rest of the environment. Learn how to reach and grab for an object in a very similar way, although much faster way, than a toddler would. So, I'd like to take us now to a little activity. This activity is one that I would really encourage you to take away. Share it with family members, share it with friends, share it with classmates, because I can guarantee you will not have the same answers. So what you'll need at the moment is I need you to make sure you've got a pen and piece of paper in front of you. And what I need you to do then is to write down each of these items. Now, the whole aim of this activity is to take these 7 items and to rank them. So at one end of the scale, you want to have the least intelligent object. And at the other end of the scale, you want the most intelligent object. But I need you to consider about what you think intelligence is. So I believe most people will have the same pictures at the very beginning and the very end of that line. But I can guarantee you there'll be a lot of variation for the images in between in regards to what order they are in. Now, if you really want up for a challenge or you want to expand on this, you can visit the website that's currently showing at the bottom of this slide. And if you go to the computer science section on that website, you will find the Sun and Conference link to the rest of the activity pack. That includes an additional 23 items and their images. So let us just have a quick look at these 7. Right, top left, we have your classic NPC, your non-player character within a computer game. Now, if we were to look at one such as a zombie from Minecraft, we wouldn't call that intelligent. It is just, in fact, they get stuck in every hole that you leave around. However, if we were to consider a non-player character in one of our more advanced, high-level A+ gaming platforms, for example, on the new PlayStations and Xbox games that are now being released, they have algorithms that allow them to adapt their response within the game to the player's approach. Is that intelligence, that ability to adapt to how you are playing and adjust accordingly? Or is that just really, really clever programming? Okay, I then have the rock. Well, I can't really argue the intelligence of a rock. I think we can all safely say that should be your baseline, your least intelligent object from this list. Okay, we also then have the self-driving car. I mean, this is now a reality. These are starting to appear. They're being tested throughout the world. The self-driving car able to take input from sensors and apply that input to its actions. That is almost quoting the English Oxford Dictionary's definition of intelligence. But is it actually applying knowledge, or is it just using that input in a program to calculate how to react? Your smartphone, for some people, is a lifeline. It's called a smartphone, but is it smart? Is it artificial intelligence? Consider this. Your phone, you go into your app store, whether it's Apple or Google or Microsoft, and it will be able to predict what sort of apps you will like from what you've downloaded in the past. Advertising, if you have advertising in your apps, you have that option to have them tailored to you. Again, that is looking at what you do on your phone. It's tracking what sort of things you look at, and then making a decision as to what it is that you will be interested in. Is that intelligence, taking that information and using it to provide you with the best information back? Bacteria. Now, this is something quite interesting. Bacteria, are they intelligent? If they're not intelligent, how have they survived for so long? Okay. Then we have, obviously, the human. I'm hoping we all recognize that humans have some form of intelligence in most cases. And so, to some extent, I'm really expecting this to be probably at the top of most people's lists, but it's not always, because it tends to be a little bit of a tussle between the human and the image above it, the dolphin. Dolphins are now considered to be pretty intelligent animals. They can be trained, they can react, they have been known to save people who have been in danger without people even realizing they're in danger. As I say, this is such a broad avenue for debate, for discussion, and even within our own department of computer science, we have people of many different viewpoints in regards to artificial intelligence. Some saying it is by no means possible, some saying it's not just possible, it's already here. And this is why we have such a broad array of research projects going on within our intelligent robotics group. Everything from self-driving, autonomous, all-terrain off-road vehicles, all the way through to, as I mentioned earlier, the iCub, a humanoid platform on which we can start to learn more about how we learn by having a robot learn. Okay, I shall leave it there because this could go on for hours. There is so much more I could cover with this subject right now. Short, limited amount of time. So thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions about this workshop or anything to do with the AI that I have mentioned today, please email me. The email address is nar25@aber.ac.uk. If you want more information about the university or the department, then you can go to our website at aber.ac.uk. For more outreach workshops and online resources, please go to that website. It's the same one as I had on the previous slide, users.aber.ac.uk/NAR25. It has lots of online workshops, worksheets, activities, information from the departments of business, computer science, information studies, maths, and physics. So thank you again.
Hi, I'm Darren Bray. I'm a second year Robotics and Embedded Systems Engineering student at Aberystwyth University. I went to Bedwars High School for my GCSEs and went to sixth form college at Coleg y Cymoedd, Nantgarw, where I got A-levels in maths, further maths and physics, as well as an AS in chemistry. So I'm here to tell you a little about what it's like to be a computer science student and what you can expect if you become one. And where better to start than the type of modules you'll be taking during a computer science degree. We'll start with the kinds of modules you'll see in your first year, and then move on to a more general look at later in your degree scheme. This is a typical set of modules for a first year computer science student at Aber, so taking a look at these you can see they actually cover quite a wide range of topics. They're designed to give a nice baseline in a lot of areas of computer science, so just a quick rundown of what each of these modules are about. Fundamentals of web development. This will introduce you to very basic web dev skills, such as HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Information security. This is an overview of the theory of secure systems and some practical recommendations. Introduction to computer infrastructure. This provides a very basic overview of how computer hardware works and infrastructure to do with personal computing. Introduction to programming. This will be one of the first times you will program at university, so it will take you all the way from the very basics to doing one of your first main programming assignments. In my case, this was programming an Arduino-based robot to navigate an obstacle course, and I thought that was quite fun. Problems and solutions. This will be known as Introduction to Theoretical Computer Science at most unis. It will take you through some basic theoretical components of computer science, such as Turing machines, runtime analysis, and some of the maths you'll need throughout your degree. Personal and professional development. This module helps you develop soft skills for the workplace, such as presentation giving and teamwork, as well as giving you a little help with writing CVs. Programming using an object-oriented language, also known as the Java module by students at Aber. This introduces you to OOP as a paradigm for designing and writing software, as well as UML diagrams, which are almost universally hated by all students, but important nonetheless. Optional. You'll probably get to choose one or two modules. Normally, they can be taken anywhere in the university, but it is advised to go with the department's recommendations. While you won't get exactly these modules unless you come to Aber, I don't think other universities would be significantly different in the types of modules you'll get. They'll probably be more or less the same, except with a little more maths though. You might have noticed on the slides that I said I didn't do some of these modules, and this is because my degree is almost a double award with physics, so I was doing alternative physics and maths modules. There are lots of degrees like this, and they vary quite a lot, so I'm not even going to try and sum up their modules. When you get to the third and fourth years of your degree, you'll be given more choice as to what you'll get to study. Once you've dipped your toes in a variety of areas, you can choose to specialise or even remain a little bit of a jack of all trades. At the same time, you'll be doing things like dissertations and larger year-spanning projects. What specifically you'll be doing in these will depend on the university and also what you're interested in. So what about the all-important timetable? How will your days be structured? Sadly, I can't show you my first year timetable because the university has deleted them. But I can show you my current one because it's not actually that different from pre-pandemic times. So most universities have a few types of things that can be on their schedule. Firstly, there are lectures. These are normally done in very large groups, and depending on the module, these can easily be hundreds of people. These have been stopped due to the pandemic, so there are about 6 hours or so missing from my schedule, which would be these. For the most part, these have been replaced with online videos, which you can watch whenever you like. You will also probably have tutorials. These are the smallest groups you'll get, normally around 10 people. These typically involve working through problems as groups, as well as discussing what you've learnt over the last week. These are your best chance to ask lecturers questions. Seminars are bigger than tutorials. They are most like the kind of lessons you have in school, with around 30 people and a moderate amount of mostly optional interaction. These will normally cover problem sheets and other things you've been given throughout the week. Workshops are normally bigger than seminars again. Depending on the module, they can get up to around 70 people-ish. During these, you'll be set some practical work. For comp sci students, this is normally a programming task, and there will be lecturers and more experienced students around to help you if you get stuck. At Aber, you can be scheduled anywhere from 9 AM to 6 PM, but I got lucky this semester, with only being scheduled till 4. You'll notice I also get Thursdays off. This just happens sometimes. You'll get a day off. It's a blessing and a curse. It means you can sleep as late as you like, but it also means a couple of the other days will probably be quite full. It's also not a day off. You should probably do some work during that time. How are you assessed? It's hard to make a general statement about it because it depends on the module, but you'll get a combination of exams, coursework, and online tests. You'll already be very familiar with the concept of exams. They typically make up between 40 and 70% of your mark in a module. Before the pandemic, these used to be taken in large exam halls under exam conditions, but right now they've been adjusted so you can take them online and are mostly open book. Coursework as a computer science student normally involves a programming task and a write-up. You're normally given a month or two, and it will take anywhere from 10 to 30-ish hours to complete. Normally, coursework makes up 30 and 70% of a module, but modules can be made up entirely of coursework, and in those cases you'll be given several throughout the semester. Online tests normally take between 10 minutes and an hour to complete, and they will make up a few percent of the module each. These vary a lot depending on the module. Some will have lots of smaller ones, while others will have fewer larger ones. There have been an increased number of these since the pandemic, and some modules have even replaced the exam with these. While thinking about the assessments, you might wonder if I have any tips for you to do well. And if there is nothing else you get from this section, I want it to be program. Having experience writing software, making websites, making games, anything at all really is a huge advantage. Computer science is all about problem solving, and problem solving, especially problem solving in the way that you would using a computer, is a skill you can practice. And learning to get into the right mindset will be a huge advantage in virtually every aspect of your course. Then there are more generic tips, like start studying for exams early and do coursework early. While you can leave these things to the last minute, and you might work better under pressure, it is almost always more pleasurable to work in a low-stress environment. And it means if something goes wrong, you have time to deal with it. What type of careers do computer science degrees lead into? Well, computer science is a very broad subject and applicable in virtually every field, so pinning that down is quite tough. But I've been applying for industrial gear placements the past couple months, so I thought I'd tell you about a few that I've seen. There have been a few you would expect for someone with a degree like mine. For example, like the software development internship at HP, where I'd be working writing firmware for printers and other office equipment. It's not exactly riveting, but then there's jobs like the Elemental Analysis Instrumentation internship for UK Research and Innovation, which involves working with the Reichenrau muon facility to develop equipment for firing muons and X-rays at biomaterials. It's not exactly the kind of job you're imagining when you're sitting in a data structures and algorithms lecture. Of course, these are related to my degree. There's so much else that you could be doing. You have options like web development, big data research, finance, particularly high-speed trading. There's a lot of money to be made there if you can get into the field in the first place. Project management roles, and not to forget one of the most popular ones, game development. So, is it fun to be a computer science student? Well, I mean, obviously I think so, otherwise I wouldn't be here trying to convince you to become a computer science student. But the main reason I enjoy it is that I just like interacting with computers and solving problems with them. Computer science degrees go hand in hand with this, so I'd be kinda sad if I didn't get to write some software during my course. Programming isn't the only good thing about it though. There are also lots of opportunities to do things related to your degree. For example, last year I took part in ABBA Sailbot, which is a student-led autonomous sailing team. I worked with other students to make a scale, self-controlled sailing boat. I also got to go to places like the Raspberry Pi Jam in Cambridge. I did local outreach with primary school children during Science Week. I've done some paid work, and I almost went to Finland, but sadly that was cancelled due to the pandemic. These aren't the only reasons to enjoy being a computer science student, but these are what I find particularly attractive. There are things like the social aspect, but that applies more generally to university students than it does to comp sci students specifically. So hopefully this has been an interesting look into what the life of a computer science student is like. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And if you're considering coming to ABBA and have any questions about ABBA, don't hesitate to ask as well. Thanks for listening to me.